Okay, let's talk about something that happened back in February of 2026. The entire world of cybersecurity got completely rocked by just one number. Seriously, a single number that pretty much changed everything.
That number? It was 22. And yeah, it sent absolute shockwaves through the tech world. So, what did it actually mean? It meant 22 brand new security holes found in one of the biggest web browsers out there, Firefox. And we're not talking about small stuff here. These were serious vulnerabilities that some of the smartest people in the business had missed for years.
But here's the kicker, the part that's truly wild. They found all of them in just 2 weeks. You have to understand, a job like that would normally take a team of experts months. This was done in a tiny fraction of the time. So the big question wasn't just what found them, but how.
Well, that's where this story really begins. It all started with this landmark project between the AI company Anthropic and Mozilla. They basically pointed an advanced AI model, called Claude Opus 4.6, at Firefox's code and just let it go. And the results? They were absolutely off the charts.
I mean, just look at this. The difference is staggering. In only 2 weeks, this AI, Claude, found more security flaws than Mozilla's human teams usually find in a whole month. It wasn't just a little bit faster. No, this was a completely different ballgame.
So, you might be wondering, what is this Claude thing anyway? It's not your typical scanner that just looks for keywords. No, this AI was trained on a mountain of data. We're talking millions of lines of code, thousands of known hacks. It doesn't just read the code, it understands the logic behind it. Think of it less like a spell checker for code and more like a seasoned programmer with decades of experience who can just feel when something's not right.
Okay, but how does it actually do that? Well, Claude's whole approach is a massive shift in how we hunt for bugs. It's not about throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's about smart, contextual thinking. See, the old way, traditional scanners, they just look at code line by line. And that creates a ton of noise, tons of false alarms that waste everyone's time. Claude is different. It gets the big picture. It sees how all the different pieces of the puzzle fit together and spots dangerous patterns that you'd only see by understanding those complex connections. Things like, say, a memory error that only happens when two totally separate parts of the program talk to each other.
It's really a multi-layered attack, you know? It uses static analysis, which is basically reading the code without even running it, to map out every possible thing it could do. Then it models how the code should behave and compares it to patterns from old hacks it's learned about. It cross-references everything to see the full picture. It's this all-in-one approach that's just, well, almost impossible for a single person or a single tool to do.
And the result of all this brilliant work? Zero. A 0% false positive rate. That means every single one of those 22 vulnerabilities it found was a real, legitimate threat. Imagine the hours that saved the security team from chasing down dead ends.
Okay, so at this point, you're probably thinking, all right, that's cool for a modern web browser. But this is where the story gets really interesting. And, honestly, a little bit scary. They decided to point this AI at code from a totally different time.
Get this, Mark Russinovich, who's the CTO of Microsoft Azure, had this wild idea. He went and dug up some code that he wrote himself 40 years ago for an old-school Apple II computer, and he just fed it to Claude. Just pause and think about that for a second. We're talking code written in 1986 for a processor that's practically an antique, being analyzed 40 years later by this cutting-edge AI. And the craziest part? Claude not only understood that ancient code, it found a bug in it.
The bug itself was super subtle. It was something called silent incorrect behavior. What that means is the program wouldn't crash or give you an error, it would just give you the wrong answer, silently. Now, back in '86, that's maybe just an annoying little quirk. But today, a flaw like that in our hyper-connected world could be a massive security hole just waiting to be exploited.
And that leads to a really chilling question, doesn't it? If code that's 40 years old isn't safe, then what about all that ancient code that's still running our critical infrastructure? Our power grids, our hospitals, our factories? So many of these vital systems are running on code that's decades old and hasn't been touched in years. The risk here is huge, and it makes something like AI security analysis not just a nice-to-have, but an absolute necessity. We're not talking about theoretical problems anymore. These are ticking time bombs.
But here's the thing about a tool this powerful. It's a classic double-edged sword. If it's this good at finding flaws for the good guys, you can bet it's just as dangerous in the hands of the bad guys.
Let's go back to those Firefox bugs for a second. Out of the 22, 14 of them were rated high severity.
These weren't minor annoyances. We're talking complex memory safety bugs, the exact kind of thing that's super hard for people to find but can give an attacker total control of a system. They needed to be fixed, like, yesterday. In fact, 2 of them were confirmed to be directly exploitable.
So, for the defenders, the upside is obvious, right? You get incredible speed, almost perfect accuracy, it's way cheaper than hiring huge teams of people, and you can scale it up to scan everything at once. This is a massive advantage for the defense.
But let's flip the coin. A bad actor with this same AI could put their entire attack on autopilot. Step 1, discover thousands of new vulnerabilities all over the internet. Step 2, figure out which ones are the easiest to turn into weapons. And Step 3, automatically create the attack code. The whole process automated.
That's the new world we're living in. A process that used to take experts months. Finding a weakness, building a tool to exploit it, could be squashed down into just a few hours. The whole timeline of cyber warfare is about to get a massive speed boost.
So where does that leave us? Well, it puts us right in the middle of a new kind of arms race, a high-stakes game where it's AI versus AI, the attackers against the defenders.
So what's the next step for the good guys? The next big thing is AI that doesn't just find the problems, but actually fixes them automatically by generating its own patches. We're talking about real-time monitoring that flags a bug the second a developer types it, and analysis that works on everything from your phone to your car.
And all of this leaves us with one last really big question. We've created an AI that can be both the ultimate lock and the ultimate key. So, in this race to secure our digital lives, who's going to be faster?